I opened the door quietly and saw my husband comforting our daughter-in-law, while my own daughter sobbed upstairs. I didn't interrupt. I just called the number on the letter he thought I'd never read, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. The day everything I thought I knew about my family shattered like cheap glass. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching. My appointment with Dr. Richardson ended early. The mammogram took 20 minutes instead of the usual hour. Clean results, thank God. At 68, you learn to appreciate small mercies. I drove back to my house on Oakwood Drive in Toledo at 2:30 p.m., 3 hours earlier than expected. The fall air smelled like burning leaves. Mrs. Kowalski next door was raking her lawn. She waved at me, then hurried over clutching a large manila envelope. "Esther, this came to my house by mistake 6 weeks ago. The mailman mixed up our addresses again. I kept forgetting to bring it over. I'm so sorry." 6 weeks. The envelope had a return address. Fletcher and Associates, attorneys at law. My late husband's attorney. I thanked her, put it in my purse, and walked to my back door. That's when I heard them. The kitchen door was unlocked. I stepped inside quietly, out of habit more than intention. Voices drifted from the living room. The door was open just enough to see through. Daniel stood near the couch, his arm around Claire. My daughter-in-law had her face buried in his shoulder, shoulders shaking like she was crying. But I've been a nurse for 30 years. I know real crying from performance. This was performance. Upstairs, I could hear Sarah, my daughter, actually sobbing. The raw, choking kind that comes from somewhere deep. I should have walked in, should have demanded answers. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the way Daniel was stroking Claire's hair, too gentle, too careful, like he was comforting her about something they'd planned together. Then Claire spoke. Her voice carried through the silence like a knife. "The old woman's finally going to get out of the way. Tom said the papers are ready. She just needs to sign." My breath caught. I pressed myself against the kitchen wall. Daniel's voice weak, uncertain. "I don't know, Claire. This feels wrong." "Wrong?" Claire pulled back, and I could see her face now. Dry, no tears. "Wrong is watching her waste this inheritance on stupid crafts and donations while we drown in bills. Your father left her everything. $300,000, Daniel, and she sits on it like a dragon on gold." A third voice made my blood freeze. Esther's always been stubborn. My sister Linda, sitting on my couch, sipping tea from my mother's china. Since we were children, she thought she deserved everything herself, never wanted to share. Remember when Mama died? She got 60%, I got 40. Never seemed fair. Linda's voice dripped with old venom. We'd fought about our mother's estate 9 years ago, but I thought we'd moved past it. Apparently not. Claire laughed. Cold. "Well, stubbornness won't help her much longer. Between the three of us, we'll make her see reason. 3 of us, my son, my daughter-in-law, my sister." Upstairs, Sarah cried harder. I backed out of the kitchen, slowly, carefully. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely grip my car keys. I got in my Honda, started the engine, and drove. I didn't know where I was going. I ended up at the Starbucks on Monroe Street, 15 minutes away. I sat in the parking lot for 10 minutes before I could move. The envelope. Mrs. Kowalski's envelope. My hands trembled as I opened it. The letter inside was dated September 4th, 2024, 6 weeks ago. "Dear Mrs. Brennan, this letter concerns the estate of your late husband, Robert James Brennan, deceased March 2022. Per his instructions, a trust account of $342,750 was established in your name exclusively, with specific clauses preventing access by your son, Daniel Brennan, due to concerns documented in Mr. Brennan's final will addendum. The trust was contested by Daniel Brennan on July 18, 2024. The contest was denied by probate court on August 29, 2024. Please contact our office at your earliest convenience to finalize access protocols. Sincerely, Thomas R. Fletcher, Esquire. I read it 3 times. $342,750. In my name. Only mine. Robert had left it for me specifically, with clauses preventing Daniel from accessing it, and Daniel had tried to contest it. In July, 2 months ago, he lost. Concerns documented in Mr. Brennan's final will addendum. What concerns? What had Robert known that I didn't? My phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. Mom, where are you? Thought you'd be home by now. Need to talk. I stared at the message. Need to talk. About what? About the papers Tom Fletcher supposedly had ready? About getting me to sign away my protection? I didn't reply. Instead, I sat in that Starbucks parking lot as the sun started to set, holding a letter that had been stolen from me for 6 weeks, and thought about my son. I remembered Daniel at 8 years old, crying when I left for my night shift at St. Vincent Hospital. I'd worked doubles for 3 years to pay his tuition at Ohio State, $32,000 a year. I ate stale sandwiches from the hospital cafeteria to save money, wore the same scrubs until they had holes. When Daniel graduated, I waited for a thank you. Something. Anything. Claire said at his graduation party, loud enough for everyone to hear. All parents pay for college, Esther. It's not like you're a hero. I'd smiled, swallowed the hurt, told myself she was young and didn't understand. But now, sitting in this parking lot, I wondered, had I been swallowing hurt for 20 years? My phone buzzed again. Claire this time. Esther, Daniel's worried. Please call. I turned off my phone. I sat there until the sky turned purple, then black, until the Starbucks closed and a teenage employee knocked on my window asking if I was okay. I'm fine, I told him. Just thinking. I drove home at 9 p.m. The house was dark. Daniel and Claire were gone. Sarah's rental car was gone too. On my kitchen table sat a single piece of paper, a brochure, Sunset Meadows Assisted Living, full-color photos of smiling elderly people in wheelchairs. Where golden years shine brightest. Attached to it, a yellow post-it note, Claire's handwriting. Thinking of you, I picked up the brochure. My hands didn't shake anymore. Something had settled inside me, something cold and clear. They'd been in my house, while I was gone, leaving threats disguised as concern. I walked upstairs to Robert's office, the room I hadn't touched since he died. I sat at his desk, opened the bottom drawer, and pulled out his old address book. Found the number for Tom Fletcher. Tomorrow I'd call. Tomorrow I'd start asking questions. But tonight, I needed to understand one thing. How long had my son been planning this? I pulled out my laptop. Logged into the joint bank account Robert and I had opened in 1995, the one we'd forgotten about after opening a new account in 2010. The old account had $3,200 in it when Robert died. We'd meant to close it. I scrolled through 3 years of transactions. Small withdrawals, $300 here, $500 there, $800, always under $1,000, always irregular enough to avoid patterns. I added them up. $47,000. Daniel had been stealing from us for 5 years. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. A man's voice, distorted, robotic, like those apps teenagers use. Accidents happen to stubborn old ladies. Sign the papers. The line went dead. I sat in Robert's office, in the dark, holding my phone, and for the first time in 30 years, I didn't cry. I smiled. The phone call changed something in me. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at Robert's desk until 3 a.m., going through every document, every statement, every scrap of paper he'd left behind. By sunrise Wednesday, I had a list. 17 instances of theft, $47,000 stolen over 5 years, and I had questions that needed answers. At 8:15 a.m., I called Tom Fletcher's office. The receptionist put me through immediately. Mrs. Brennan. His voice carried relief. I was getting worried. Your son called 11 times trying to get information about the trust. What did you tell him? Nothing. Client confidentiality. But he was persistent, almost aggressive. I need to see you. Today, if possible. I have an opening at 10. Can you make it? I could. Tom Fletcher's office was in a brick building downtown, 4th floor, overlooking the Maumee River. He was younger than I expected, maybe 55, graying at the temples, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. I showed him everything. The letter that had been intercepted. The bank statements showing the thefts. I told him about the phone call, the assisted living brochure, the conversation I'd overheard. Tom's jaw tightened as he reviewed the documents. Mrs. Brennan, this is serious. This could constitute elder abuse, financial exploitation, and conspiracy. You could file a police report. Not yet. My voice surprised me with its steadiness. First, I need to protect what's mine. Then we'll see about the rest. Smart. He pulled out a legal pad. Here's what I recommend. We revoke any old powers of attorney immediately. We create a new will with explicit provisions. We put alerts on all your accounts. And we prepare a restraining order against Claire. Not filed yet, just ready if you need it. Do it. Tom worked fast. By noon, I'd signed documents revoking every legal authority I'd ever given Daniel. By 1 p.m., my new will was drafted. 60% to Sarah, 20% to Charity, 20% to Daniel, contingent upon meeting specific conditions to be determined. The conditions part is unusual, Tom said, but legal. If you want to give him a chance to earn it back, you can define those terms later. I'll think about it. As I left Tom's office, my phone rang. Daniel. I let it go to voicemail. 5 minutes later, another call. Claire. Voicemail. Then a text from Daniel. Mom, we need to talk. It's important. Family meeting Friday night, please. I stared at the message. A family meeting. How convenient. I texted back. Where? Our place. 7 p.m. Just you, me, Claire, and Aunt Linda. Aunt Linda. Of course. I typed. Sarah invited? Long pause. Then, this is more of an adult discussion. Sarah doesn't need to be involved. Translation, we don't want witnesses who might take your side. I replied, I'll be there. I had 3 days to prepare. Thursday. I did something I hadn't done in 30 years. I went through my old photo albums, the ones from when Daniel was little, before Claire, before everything got complicated. There he was at 6, gap-toothed, holding up a drawing he'd made me for Mother's Day. Best mom in the world, it said in crayon. There he was at 14, arm around my shoulders at his 8th grade graduation, smiling. Genuine. When had that boy disappeared? I remembered something Robert said once, maybe a year before he died. We were sitting on the back porch, watching the sunset. Out of nowhere, he'd said, I worry about Daniel. Why? I'd asked. He's got your kindness, but not your spine. And Claire's got spine, but no kindness. Bad combination. I hadn't understood then. Now I did. My phone rang. Sarah. Mom, Daniel called me. Said there's a family meeting Friday and I'm not invited. What's going on? I told her everything. The letter, the trust, the thefts, the overheard conversation, the phone threat. I talked for 20 minutes straight. Silence on the other end. Then, that son of a bitch. Sarah. No, Mom. I'm done defending him. Last month, Claire called me. Told me not to interfere with family plans because you were losing your grip on reality. I didn't want to believe her, but she sounded so convinced. I actually wondered if maybe you were having memory issues. My chest tightened. You thought I was senile? No. I mean, I didn't know what to think. She was very convincing. Said you'd been making irrational decisions, forgetting conversations. Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have called you directly instead of listening to her poison. It's okay, honey. It's not okay. What are you going to do? Go to the meeting. See what they want. And then, I paused. Then I'm going to make some decisions. Want me there? No, not this time. But stay close to your phone Friday night. I might need you. Mom, be careful. People who steal $47,000 don't just give up. I know. After we hung up, I sat in the living room for a long time. The house felt different now. Every corner held memories I wasn't sure I could trust anymore. Had Daniel ever really loved me? Or had I just been a bank account with a heartbeat? Friday arrived cold and gray. October in Ohio. I dressed carefully. Navy slacks, cream sweater, the pearl earrings Robert gave me on our 20th anniversary. I wanted to look strong, competent, not like someone who could be declared incompetent. I arrived at Daniel's house at 7 p.m. exactly. It was a rental, a small bungalow in West Toledo. I'd co-signed the lease 2 years ago when they couldn't get approved on their own. Claire opened the door. She'd dressed up too. Black dress, heels, lipstick, like this was a business meeting. Esther, thank you for coming. She hugged me. I didn't hug back. We've been so worried about you. Inside, Daniel sat on the couch. He stood when I entered, kissed my cheek. Hey, Mom, you look good. Linda was already there, perched in the armchair like a judge on a bench. Esther, finally. And then I saw him. Pastor Ted Morrison from First Baptist Church, sitting on the love seat with a Bible in his lap and a concerned expression on his face. A pastor. They'd brought a pastor. This wasn't a family meeting. This was an intervention. Please sit. Claire gestured to the chair they'd positioned in the center of the room, facing everyone. I sat. Pastor Ted spoke first, his voice soft and paternal. Esther, your family asked me here because they're concerned. They love you very much, and they want to make sure you're taken care of as you enter this new phase of life. New phase, like I was dying. I'm 68, Pastor, not 98. Of course. But 68 is a time to think about the future, about legacy, about making sure your affairs are in order so your children aren't burdened. Linda leaned forward. Remember when you fell in the bathroom last year, Esther? You could have been seriously hurt. What if it happens again and nobody finds you for days? I slipped on a wet tile. I was fine. But what if you weren't? Claire's voice dripped with false concern. What if something worse happens? You live alone in that big house. Anything could happen. Daniel pulled out a folder. My stomach dropped. Mom, we've been looking into options. Good options. Places where you'd be safe, where people could check on you. He opened the folder. Sunset Meadows again, plus 2 other facilities. Brochures, price lists, floor plans. I don't need assisted living. Not now, Claire said quickly, but soon, and it's better to plan ahead. Plus, think about it. You could sell the house. It's worth at least $380,000. You could use that money to pay for a nice place, maybe even have some left over to help Daniel with his business expenses. There it was, the real agenda. My house isn't for sale. Linda's voice sharpened. Esther, be reasonable. That house is too much for you. And let's be honest. Mama left it to both of us. You got 60% of the estate, I got 40. You've had the benefit of that house's value for 9 years. Maybe it's time to think about fairness. The house was sold in 2015, Linda. You got your share, $78,000, which wasn't equal to what you got, because the will specified 60-40. That's what Mama wanted. Pastor Ted raised his hands. Ladies, please. This isn't about the past. This is about Esther's future and making sure she's protected. Claire pushed papers across the coffee table toward me. We've made it easy. These are just standard documents. Power of attorney for healthcare and finances, just in case something happens. So Daniel can make decisions if you're unable to. I looked at the papers. Legal jargon. Signatures required. Daniel's name listed as primary decision maker. I looked up at my son. He wouldn't meet my eyes. No, Claire blinked. What? No, I'm not signing anything tonight. Mom, Daniel started. I need to speak with my own attorney first. Any responsible person would do that before signing legal documents. Your own attorney? Linda's voice rose. What attorney? When did you get an attorney? Recently. Claire's mask slipped for just a second. I saw rage flash across her face before she recovered. Esther, don't you trust your own son? I trust my son. I need time to think. Pastor Ted stood. Perhaps we should pray about this. Let's ask God for wisdom. No, thank you, Pastor. I appreciate you coming, but this is a family matter. I stood. Daniel stood too. Mom, wait, please. We're just trying to help. I know what you're trying to do, Daniel. And the answer is no. Not tonight. Not without my attorney reviewing everything. I walked toward the door. Linda called after me. Stubbornness left you alone your whole life, Esther. Don't let it ruin your last years, too. I kept walking. Outside, the October air bit through my sweater. I got in my car, hands shaking again, but this time from anger, not fear. My phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. Mom, please reconsider. We only want what's best for you. I didn't reply. I drove home, checked every lock twice, and went upstairs. That's when I saw it. On my bed. A envelope, plain white. No postage. Someone had been in my house again. Inside, a single photograph. Me, taken from across the street, getting my mail this morning. On the back, written in block letters, "We're watching." I sat on the bed holding the photograph and made a decision. If they wanted war, I'd give them war. But on my terms. I didn't sleep Friday night. I sat in Robert's office with every light on, the photograph on the desk in front of me, and made a list of everything I knew. They'd been in my house, twice now, the brochure, the photograph. Daniel had a key. I'd given it to him 3 years ago for emergencies. That key had just become a weapon. At 6 a.m. Saturday, I drove to Lowe's, bought new locks for both doors. $64 total. The young man at the register asked if I needed installation help. No, thank you. I can do it myself. He looked doubtful. I was 68 years old, gray hair, tired eyes. What did I know about changing locks? More than he thought. I'd been a nurse for 30 years. I'd sutured wounds, set IVs, operated equipment most people couldn't name. I could damn well install a lock. Back home, I watched 3 YouTube videos and had both locks changed by 10 a.m. I tested them 6 times each. Then I called a locksmith to install a deadbolt on the back door. An extra $120, but worth it. My phone rang constantly. Daniel, Claire, Linda. Daniel again. Unknown number. Linda, Claire, Daniel. I ignored all of them. At 2 p.m., Sarah called. I answered. Mom, Daniel's been calling me all morning. Says you're having some kind of breakdown. That you accuse them of trying to hurt you. He sounds really worried. I'm fine. Are you? Because honestly, this all sounds... Sarah. My voice came out harder than I intended. Do you trust me? Silence. Then, quietly. Yes. Then trust me now. I'm fine. Better than fine. I'm thinking clearly for the first time in years. Okay. Okay, Mom. I'm here if you need me. After she hung up, I sat in the living room and cried for the first time since Tuesday. Not sad crying. Angry crying. The kind that burns behind your eyes and makes your chest hurt. I cried for the fool I'd been. For every time I'd believed their lies. For every dollar I'd given them thinking it was love. Then I dried my eyes, went back to Robert's office, and started searching. Robert had been meticulous about paperwork. 22 years of marriage, and he'd kept everything. Tax returns, medical bills, bank statements, insurance policies. I pulled out every drawer in his desk. Most contained ordinary things, old pens, rubber bands, a calculator from 1998. The bottom right drawer stuck. I yanked harder. It opened 6 inches, then caught on something. I reached inside, felt around. My fingers touched a folder wedged against the back of the drawer. I pulled it free. The tab read, Confidential, EMB only, Esther Mae Brennan. My full name. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, a copy of Robert's original will, an addendum in his handwriting dated March 8, 2022, 10 days before he died, bank statements from 2017 to 2022, and a sealed envelope with my name on it in Robert's script. I opened the addendum first. Robert's handwriting was shaky. The cancer had reached his hands by then, but legible. Final addendum to last will and testament wine, Robert James Brennan, being of sound mind, do hereby amend my will with the following provisions. 1. The trust fund of $342,750 is to be accessible only to my wife, Esther Mae Brennan. Under no circumstances is my son, Daniel Thomas Brennan, to have access, control, or claim to these funds. 2. This provision is made due to discoveries outlined in attached documentation, specifically, unauthorized withdrawals from joint account number 4782, totaling $47,000 between January 2017 and December 2021. 3. I have confronted my son about these withdrawals. He expressed remorse and promised restitution. However, given the systematic nature of the theft and the influence of his spouse, I cannot trust that restitution will occur. 4. This trust is my final gift to my wife, who sacrificed everything for our family. She is not to feel guilt about protecting it. That is my dying wish. Signed, Robert James Brennan, March 8, 2022. I read it 4 times. Robert had known, had confronted Daniel. Daniel had promised to pay it back. He never did. I opened the bank statements next. Robert had highlighted each withdrawal in yellow. Small amounts. $350 on February 4th, 2017, $800 on May 12th, 2017, $450 on September 28th, 2017, page after page of theft. The account was one we'd opened in 1995 for household expenses. When we opened a new account in 2010, we'd transferred most of the money but left $3,200 in the old one, intending to close it. We forgot. Life got busy. Daniel hadn't forgotten. The last document was the sealed envelope. My name on the front. I opened it carefully, like it might disintegrate. Inside, a letter. 3 pages. Robert's handwriting. Stronger here. This was written earlier. Maybe weeks before the addendum. My dearest Esther, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And if you're reading this, Daniel has likely done something that forced you to search for answers. I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry that I have to leave you with this burden. 6 months ago, I discovered the thefts. I was reviewing our old accounts to make sure everything was in order before the end. I found the withdrawals, systematic, deliberate. Going back 5 years, I confronted Daniel in the hospital, March 5th. You'd gone home to shower. He came alone. I asked him about the money. At first, he denied it. Then he broke down, cried like when he was a boy. Said Claire had medical bills he was afraid to tell us about. Said they were drowning in debt. Said he was ashamed. I wanted to believe him. God, Esther, I wanted to believe him so badly. But then he said something that chilled me. He asked how much you'd inherit when I died. Asked if the house was in both our names or just yours. Asked about my life insurance policy. He was planning your inheritance while I was dying. I told him I'd forgiven him for the theft, but I was protecting you. I'd set up a trust he couldn't access. He got angry, said it wasn't fair, said he was an only child and deserved his due, like you were already dead. Esther, I don't know if our son can be saved. Part of me, the father part, hopes he can. Maybe without Claire's influence, maybe with time and help, he could become the man we raised him to be, but I couldn't take that chance with your security. The trust is yours, only yours. Don't let guilt make you give it away. You earned every penny by raising that boy, by working those double shifts, by sacrificing your own dreams for his education. If he comes to you with apologies and promises, remember, he made promises to me too, on my deathbed, and he broke them. But also remember, he's still your son. And you're a better person than I am. If you find a way to save him, I'll be proud. Just don't sacrifice yourself to do it. I love you. I've loved you since the day we met at St. Vincent Hospital, when you yelled at me for parking in the ambulance bay. You were magnificent then. You're magnificent now. Take care of yourself. Finally, please, forever yours, Robert. I folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope, and sat in Robert's chair as the afternoon sun faded to evening. He'd known. He'd tried to protect me, and he'd died carrying that knowledge alone, not wanting to burden me while I was already grieving. My phone rang. Unknown number again. I answered this time. Hello? The same robotic voice from before. You changed your locks. Cute. Won't help. Sign the papers or things get worse. Who is this? Click. Deadline. I sat there holding the phone, and something shifted inside me. Not fear anymore, not even anger. Calculation. I opened my laptop and started a new document, titled it, Evidence. I listed everything. Dates, amounts, conversations, threats. I scanned Robert's letter and addendum, uploaded them to a secure cloud account Sarah had set up for me last year. Then, I did something I hadn't done in months. I opened Facebook. Daniel's page was public, photos everywhere. Claire at a restaurant last week, expensive place downtown, wine glasses, steaks. Daniel at a golf course 2 weeks ago, new clubs visible in the photo. I scrolled back. 6 months of photos, vacations, shopping trips, date nights at places that cost $60, $80, $100 per person. All while crying poverty to me, I screenshot everything. Added it to the evidence file. By midnight, I had 17 pages of documentation, times, Dates, amounts, patterns. I saved it, backed it up, emailed a copy to myself. Then I opened a new email and typed Tom Fletcher's address. Tom, I need to see you Monday morning. First available appointment. I have new information, and I'm ready to move forward with everything. I'm also ready to make them an offer. One last chance. But on my terms. Esther, I hit send at 12:47 a.m. Then I went to bed and slept for 9 hours straight, the deepest sleep I'd had in years. Sunday morning, I woke to sun streaming through the bedroom window. For the first time since Tuesday, I felt clear, focused. I made coffee. Real coffee, not the instant stuff I'd been drinking to save money for Daniel's emergencies. I sat on the back porch and watched Mrs. Kowalski garden next door. Normal life. Sunday morning life. My phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. Mom, please. We need to talk. I'm worried about you. Can I come over? I replied for the first time in 2 days. No, but I'll be in touch soon. Don't contact me again until I reach out. He responded immediately. Mom, what's going on? Did someone say something to you? Is this about money? I turned off my phone. At 3 p.m., Sarah's car pulled into my driveway. I hadn't invited her, but I wasn't surprised. She had a key to the new locks. I'd driven to Columbus Saturday night and given her a copy. She came in carrying takeout. Chinese food, my favorite. Figured you hadn't eaten much, she said. We ate in silence for a while. Then Sarah said, What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I'm going to give him one chance. Mom? One chance, Sarah. Not for him, for me, so I can live with whatever comes next. She nodded slowly. And if he doesn't take it? Then I'll know I tried. We finished eating. Sarah stayed until 6 p.m., then hugged me at the door. I'm proud of you, Mom. I know this is hard. After she left, I went back to Robert's office, pulled out the letter, read it again. If you find a way to save him, I'll be proud. I'm going to try, Robert, I whispered to the empty room, but I'm not sacrificing myself to do it. Monday morning, Tom Fletcher's receptionist called at 8:15 a.m. Mrs. Brennan, Tom has an opening at 10 a.m. Can you make it? I'll be there. Tom Fletcher's office felt different Monday morning. Last time, I'd been a victim looking for protection. Today, I was someone with a plan. Tom listened as I laid out everything. Robert's letter, the addendum, the 5 years of theft, the surveillance photo, the threatening calls. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and let out a long breath. Mrs. Brennan, this is beyond civil matter territory. This is criminal, extortion, harassment, financial exploitation of an elderly person. You could have all 3 of them arrested. I don't want that, not yet. Why not? I pulled out the letter from Robert, showed him the last paragraph. If you find a way to save him, I'll be proud. Robert believed in second chances. Even after everything, he hoped Daniel could change. I folded the letter carefully. I need to know if there's anything left of the boy I raised, but I also need to protect myself while I find out. Tom nodded slowly. So what do you want to do? Everything you suggested last week. Revoke the powers of attorney? Done. New will? Done. Protect the accounts? Done. But I want to add something. I want to set a trap. A trap? I want to invite them to dinner. Daniel, Claire, Sarah, not Linda. She's done. I want to see Daniel's face when I confront him with evidence. I want to see if there's any remorse, any humanity left. And if there isn't, then I'll know, and I'll do what needs to be done. Tom was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled out a legal pad. Okay, let's plan this carefully. You'll need documentation present, witnesses, and an exit strategy if things get dangerous. We spent 2 hours mapping it out. Every detail, every possibility. At noon, I left Tom's office with a folder full of documents and a plan that terrified and energized me in equal measure. I had 4 days until Friday dinner. I spent them preparing. Monday afternoon, I stopped at Kroger. In the checkout line, I saw Jessica Moore, president of the PTA where Claire had been trying to volunteer. Esther, haven't seen you in ages. How are you? I'm well, Jessica. How's the PTA? Busy as always. We had some drama last week, though. Had to ask someone to withdraw their volunteer application. Oh? Jessica lowered her voice. I probably shouldn't say, but someone sent us screenshots of inappropriate messages. Very unkind things said about other parents. We couldn't have that energy around the children. That's terrible. Yes, the person was quite upset when we declined their application, but we have standards. Jessica paused. It was your daughter-in-law, actually, Claire. I felt bad, but you did the right thing. After Jessica left, I felt a small, cold satisfaction. Claire's first consequence. Not from me directly. I hadn't sent those screenshots, but I'd known where to leave them. Sometimes karma just needs a little push. Tuesday, I did something I hadn't done in months. I went through my bank statements. Really went through them. 3 years of records. Every check I'd written to Daniel. Every transfer. Every emergency he'd needed help with. The water heater that broke. $200. Except I later saw photos of them at a concert that same week. Tickets starting at $150 each. The car repair, $800. But Daniel's car looked the same. No new parts visible. The medical emergency for Claire, $2,400. No hospital bills, no follow-up. But a week later, photos from Cancun. I added it up. In 3 years beyond the $47,000 stolen from the old account, I'd given them another $64,000 in loans and emergencies. $111,000 total. More than twice what Robert and I had spent on Daniel's entire college education. I made a spreadsheet, printed it, added it to my folder. Wednesday, I drove to Columbus, 2 hours each way. I needed to see Sarah face to face. We met at a coffee shop near her hospital. She was on lunch break, still in scrubs. Mom, you drove all this way just to see me? I need to show you something. I opened the folder, showed her everything. Robert's letter, the theft documentation, the threats, the spreadsheet of loans. Sarah's face went through several emotions. Shock, anger, disgust. Then something that looked like grief. I knew Daniel was struggling, she said quietly. But I thought he was trying. I thought Claire was the problem and he was just weak. Maybe that's true. Maybe he's salvageable. That's what I need to find out. How? Friday dinner. I'm going to confront him with everything. If there's any decency left, any remorse, I'll see it, and then I'll decide. And if there's not, then I'll cut him off completely. Change my will. Make sure he gets nothing. Not out of spite, out of protection. For myself and for you. Sarah reached across the table, took my hand. Mom, I need to tell you something. Something I should have said years ago. What? I've been jealous of Daniel our whole lives. You sacrificed so much for him. College, the endless emergencies, always dropping everything when he called. I put myself through nursing school with loans and scholarships. You couldn't help me. You were helping him, and I resented it. My chest tightened. Sarah, let me finish. I resented it, but I never blamed you. You were doing what you thought was right, what mothers do. But Mom, he's never appreciated it. Never. I've watched him take and take and take, and I've kept my mouth shut because I didn't want to hurt you. But maybe my silence hurt you more. Tears burned behind my eyes. You never said anything. Because I loved you. And I didn't want to be the jealous daughter causing drama. But I should have. I should have told you years ago that Daniel was using you, that Claire was poison, that you deserved better. I squeezed her hand. You're telling me now. That's enough. We sat there for a long time, holding hands across a coffee shop table, while Sarah's lunch break stretched into 45 minutes and nobody cared. Thursday, something happened that I didn't plan. I was at Meijer, grocery shopping for Friday's dinner. In the produce section, I saw her. Claire. She was alone, looking at lettuce with the kind of intensity that suggested she wasn't really seeing it. Her hair was unwashed, no makeup, yoga pants and an old sweatshirt. She looked small, diminished. I could have turned around, left, avoided her. Instead, I walked over. Hello, Claire. She jumped, literally jumped, dropped the lettuce. Esther, I didn't expect. Neither did I. We stood there in awkward silence. Then Claire said, voice cracking slightly, Did you get me fired from Pottery Barn? No, but the screenshots, I didn't send them to your employer. Someone else must have seen them and made their own decision. It was technically true. I'd left them where they'd be found, but I hadn't sent them directly. Claire's eyes filled with tears. Real tears this time. We needed that income. Daniel's business isn't doing well. We're behind on rent. The landlord is threatening to evict us. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Her voice turned bitter. Because it seems like everything is falling apart since you started being difficult. Difficult? The papers, the power of attorney. We're just trying to help you, and you're acting like we're criminals. I looked at her, really looked at her, 20 years younger than me, tired, desperate, and absolutely convinced she was the victim in this story. Claire, do you know how much money Robert and I gave you and Daniel over the past 5 years? I don't know. Some, when we needed help. $111,000. She blinked. That can't be right. It is. I have documentation. Every check. Every transfer. Every emergency that wasn't really an emergency. We had emergencies. You had a vacation in Cancun the same month I gave you $2,400 for Claire's medical emergency. Her face flushed. That was. Daniel got a bonus. We needed a break. With my money. It was a loan. We were going to pay you back. Like the car repair that never happened. The water heater that didn't need replacing. The medical bills that don't exist. Claire's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. I picked up the lettuce she'd dropped, handed it to her. I'm having dinner Friday night. Daniel and Sarah will be there. You should come too. 7 p.m. My house. And why would I come to that? Because it's your last chance to be honest. And maybe, if you are, things don't have to end badly. I walked away, left her standing there holding lettuce and confusion in equal measure. Friday morning, I cooked. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, apple pie, all of Daniel's favorites from childhood. The house smelled like it used to when he was young, before Claire, before the lies. At 6 p.m., Sarah arrived first. She brought wine, good wine, the kind I never bought for myself, and hugged me hard. You ready for this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. At 6:45, Daniel's car pulled up. He and Claire both got out. They stood in the driveway for a moment talking. Daniel looked nervous. Claire looked defiant. They came to the door together. Daniel carried flowers. Gas station flowers, but flowers. Hey, Mom. Thanks for having us. The house smells amazing. Come in. We sat down to dinner at 7 exactly. 4 of us around the dining room table that usually sat empty. For 40 minutes, we made small talk. The weather, Sarah's job, Daniel's freelance projects. Nobody mentioned lawyers or money or threats. Claire barely touched her food. Daniel ate like he was starving. At 7:40, I stood up. I'll get dessert. I came back with apple pie in the folder. Set both on the table. Daniel stared at the folder. Mom, what is that? The truth, I said, and your last chance. I opened the folder and began to read. I spread the documents across the table like cards in a game nobody wanted to play. Robert's letter, the bank statements, the addendum to the will, the spreadsheet of loans. Daniel's face went pale. Claire's went red. What is this? Daniel's voice came out barely above a whisper. It's everything your father knew before he died. Everything he tried to protect me from. I picked up the addendum. He discovered you'd been stealing from us for 5 years. $47,000 from an account you thought we'd forgotten about. Mom, I can explain. He confronted you. March 5th, 2022, in the hospital. I'd gone home to shower. You came alone. Daniel's mouth opened. Nothing came out. You told him you'd pay it back. You cried. You said you were ashamed. I looked at Claire. You told him Claire had medical bills. Claire slammed her hand on the table. This is insane. You're making up stories about a dead man who can't defend himself. I pulled out my laptop. He recorded your conversation, Claire. Audio and video. Want to hear it? The color drained from her face. Sarah spoke for the first time. Oh my God, Daniel, is this true? Daniel stared at his plate, wouldn't look up. I pressed play. Robert's voice came through tinny but clear, weak, dying. Daniel, why do you need to know about the inheritance right now? Daniel's voice, younger, desperate. Claire and I have plans, Dad. We need to know if... When you're gone, if we can count on something. Count on something? Your plan is my death? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Silence on the recording. Then Daniel again. Mom won't live forever either, and when she goes, I'm the only son. That's fair, right? That I'd inherit everything? I stopped the recording, let the words hang in the air. Sarah pushed her chair back. You talked about Mom's inheritance while Dad was dying? What the hell is wrong with you? Daniel finally looked up. His eyes were wet. It wasn't like that. You don't understand the pressure we were under. The debt, the bills. So you stole. My voice cut through his excuses like a scalpel. Systematically, for 5 years. $300 here, $800 there. Small enough we wouldn't notice, large enough to matter. I pulled out the second spreadsheet. And then there's what I gave you willingly. $64,000 over 3 years. For emergencies that weren't emergencies. For repairs that never happened. For medical bills that don't exist. Claire stood up. I've heard enough of this. Daniel, we're leaving. Sit down. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't have to. The command in it stopped her. She sat. $111,000 total. That's what you've taken from Robert and me. Stolen or manipulated. More than we spent on your entire college education, Daniel. I pulled out my phone. And then there are the threats. The surveillance photo of me taken from across the street. The phone calls with the robotic voice saying, accidents happen to stubborn old ladies. Daniel's head snapped up. What? Mom, I don't know anything about that. You don't? I showed him the photo. This was left on my bed. Someone with a key to my house. Who has a key, Daniel? I do, but I didn't. I would never. Claire's voice came out strangled. Daniel, we need to leave. Now. No. Daniel turned to her. Did you do this? The photo? The calls? Of course not. Your mother is clearly having paranoid delusions. Stop lying! Daniel's shout made us all jump. Just stop, Claire. Please, just stop. Silence fell heavy as a blanket. Daniel put his face in his hands. His shoulders shook. When he looked up, tears streamed down his face. Mom, I'm so sorry. God, I'm so sorry. Claire grabbed his arm. Daniel, don't. He shook her off. No, I'm done. I'm done lying. I'm done making excuses. I'm done with all of it. He looked at me with eyes that were suddenly, painfully young, like the boy I'd raised. It's true. All of it. I stole the money. I lied about the emergencies. I asked Dad about your inheritance while he was dying. Sarah made a sound of disgust. But I didn't make the threats. I swear on Dad's grave, I didn't make those calls or take that photo. He looked at Claire. Did you? Claire's face had gone from red to white to a grayish color I'd only seen on the very sick. I was protecting us. Protecting you. By threatening my mother, she was being unreasonable. We needed her to sign those papers, Daniel. We're drowning. The gambling debts. Daniel's face twisted. Don't put this on me. Your gambling debts, I said quietly. How much? Daniel closed his eyes. $86,400. Sarah gasped. Online poker. Sports betting. It started in 2019. Got bad in 2020. I tried to stop. I'd quit for months, then relapse. Quit again. Relapse. He opened his eyes. When Claire found out in 2021, I thought she'd leave me. Instead, she said. He looked at his wife. Claire's voice came out flat. I said your mother was rich, that we should use family money for family problems. Ah, you said it was my inheritance anyway, that I was just borrowing against it early. It was practical. It was theft, Claire. We both know it was theft. Claire stood up again, grabbed her purse. I'm not staying here to be attacked. You want to grovel to your mother, fine, but I'm not. Wait. I stood too. Before you go, you should know. I've revoked all powers of attorney, changed my will, put fraud alerts on every account, and I've documented everything. The thefts, the manipulation, the threats. It's with my attorney and uploaded to a secure cloud. If anything happens to me, it all goes to the police. Claire's hand tightened on her purse strap. You're bluffing. Try me. We stared at each other. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Real fear. I've also contacted your landlord, I continued. Your co-signer withdrew. You have 30 days to vacate or provide a new co-signer. You can't do that. I already did. I was the co-signer, Claire. You needed me to get approved for that rental. I just called and withdrew my guarantee. Claire looked at Daniel. Are you going to let her do this to us? Daniel didn't look at her. I think you should leave, Claire. What? Leave, please. I need to talk to my mother and sister alone. Daniel, go! His shout echoed off the dining room walls. Claire grabbed her purse and coat. At the door, she turned back. You're going to regret this. All of you. The door slammed behind her. In the silence that followed, I could hear Daniel crying. Not the performance tears I'd seen before. Real, ugly, broken crying. Sarah stood. I can't look at you right now. I'm going to the living room. She left. It was just me and my son at the table, surrounded by evidence of his betrayal. Mom, he whispered. I don't know how I became this person. When did the gambling start? After Dad got sick. I was stressed. Someone at work mentioned an online poker site. I won $300 the first night. It felt like control. Like I could actually win at something. And you lost control. Completely. By the time I realized how bad it was, I was in too deep. The loan sharks, the interest, the threats. Claire found out when someone came to the house looking for payment. She was furious. But then she said we could fix it. Together. By stealing from us. He nodded miserably. She made it sound reasonable, like you and Dad had plenty, like I was just borrowing what would be mine eventually anyway. And I was so desperate, so scared, I believed her, or I let myself believe her. And the conversation with your father? Planning my inheritance? Fresh tears. That was me. All me. Claire suggested it, but I said the words. I looked at my dying father and thought about money, about what I'd get when you and he were gone. He covered his face. What kind of person does that? Someone who's lost, I said quietly. He looked up. Can I be found again? That was the question, wasn't it? The one Robert had asked in his letter. The one I'd been avoiding for days. I looked at my son, 43 years old, crying at my dining room table, broken by his own choices. I saw the 8-year-old who hugged me goodbye every morning before school, the teenager who defended me when his friends made jokes about my work scrubs, the young man who held my hand at Robert's funeral. I also saw the thief, the liar, the man who planned my inheritance while I grieved. I don't know, I said honestly, but here's what I know for sure. Claire is out, completely. She threatened me, manipulated you, and encouraged every bad choice you made. As long as you're with her, you're not salvageable. I know. I mean it, Daniel. Divorce. Legally. Completely. That's non-negotiable. He nodded. Second, therapy. Real therapy. Gambling addiction treatment. Individual therapy. Twice a week minimum. For at least 2 years. You provide proof of attendance to my attorney. Okay. Third, work. Real work. Not freelance where you can hide income. A W-2 job with verifiable payday. You prove you can hold employment and pay your own bills. I will. Fourth, the debt. Your debt. I will pay it off. $86,400, but you will pay me back. $500 a month for 10 years. That's $60,000 total, more than the debt because there are consequences. You miss one payment, the deal is void. His eyes widened. You'd do that? After everything? Not for you, for me. So I can sleep at night knowing I tried one last time to save my son. But Daniel, this is it. Your last chance. You violate any term of this agreement, and you're done. No inheritance, no relationship, nothing. Mom, I mean it. One chance. Take it or leave it. He stood up, walked around the table, fell to his knees in front of me. I'll take it. I swear. I'll do everything you said. I'll fix this. I'll spend the rest of my life being the man you deserve to raise. I looked down at him, my son, on his knees, begging for redemption. Sarah appeared in the doorway. Mom, are you seriously considering this? Yes. He doesn't deserve it. No, he doesn't. But I deserve to know I tried. Sarah shook her head. If you do this, there are conditions from me too. Daniel looked at her. You write me a letter, handwritten, explaining exactly what you did and why, apologizing not just for what you did to Mom, but for what you put me through. All the years of watching her sacrifice for you while I got nothing. Sarah, I'm not done. After you write it, We meet. Mediated. Professional mediator. You read it out loud to me. And then, maybe, if you actually follow through on Mom's conditions, maybe in a few years we can try to rebuild. But Daniel, I don't trust you. I don't think I can ever fully trust you again. Daniel nodded. I understand. I'll do it. I stood up. Then we have an agreement. Tom Fletcher will draft the documents. You'll sign them, and we'll see if you're capable of keeping a promise. Daniel stood too. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for not giving up on me. Don't thank me yet. The hard part hasn't even started. He left 20 minutes later. Sarah and I watched from the window as his car pulled away. You think he'll actually do it? Sarah asked. I don't know, but now I'll know I tried. And if he doesn't, then I'll cut him off without guilt, and I'll be at peace with it. We cleaned up the dinner dishes in silence. The pot roast had gone cold. Nobody had eaten the apple pie. At 10 p.m., my phone rang. Tom Fletcher. Esther, I'm sorry to call so late, but I thought you should know. Claire Brennan just tried to access your bank accounts online. The fraud alerts blocked her. The bank is filing a police report. I closed my eyes. Thank you for letting me know. There's something else. She tried to contest Robert's will. Filed paperwork this afternoon claiming undue influence and cognitive decline. Can she do that? She can try, she won't win. But it'll tie things up for a while. After he hung up, I sat on the couch with Sarah. We didn't talk, just sat together in the quiet house while the clock ticked toward midnight. My phone buzzed one more time. Text from Daniel. Mom, I meant everything I said. Starting tomorrow, I'm getting help. I'll prove it to you. I love you. I didn't reply. Words were cheap. Actions would tell the story. Capítulo 6. The Liberation Focus. Complete Revenge Cycle. Conditional Redemption. Catharsis. Independence. Closed Ending. The next 3 days blurred together. Tom Fletcher worked fast. By Wednesday, the legal documents were ready. Daniel signed everything at Tom's office. I wasn't there. I didn't want to be. The terms were explicit. Divorce proceedings initiated within 10 days. Proof of therapy enrollment within 2 weeks. Employment secured within 30 days. First restitution payment due in 60 days. Tom called me after. He signed without hesitation. Even added a clause requesting supervised visitation with you, only when you're ready. What about Claire? She showed up at my office yesterday. Tried to argue that she had rights to the trust as Daniel's spouse. I showed her the prenuptial agreement you didn't know existed. What prenuptial agreement? The one Robert made Daniel sign before their wedding. Separate property provisions. In the event of divorce, Claire gets nothing from family assets. Robert was thorough. I sat down hard. Robert had known even then, had protected me even before the theft started. Claire threatened to sue for defamation, Tom continued. I told her we have documented evidence of her crimes. She left quietly after that. The weeks that followed were strange, quiet, like the air after a storm passes. Daniel sent updates every few days, photos of his Gambler's Anonymous meeting attendance cards, a copy of his therapy intake forms, a job offer letter from a small accounting firm, $52,000 a year, full benefits. He never asked to see me, just sent proof he was trying. Sarah and I had dinner every Sunday. She'd drive from Columbus, we'd cook together, talk about normal things. Her patients, my garden plans, the weather. We didn't talk about Daniel unless I brought him up. 3 weeks after the confrontation, I got a handwritten letter from him. 8 pages. Every theft documented, every lie acknowledged, every hurt named. The last paragraph read, I can't undo what I did. I can't give you back the years I stole or the peace I destroyed. But I can promise this. I will spend every remaining day of my life being honest, being better, being the son you deserved from the beginning. Not for inheritance, not for forgiveness, but because it's the only way I can live with myself. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry I forgot how to show it. I cried when I read it. Not sad tears, something else. Relief, maybe. Or closure. I filed the letter in the folder with all the other documents. Evidence of the end and the beginning. Claire's ending came faster than I expected. 4 weeks after the dinner, I was at Meijer again. The McDonald's inside had a help wanted sign. I went in for coffee. She was there, behind the counter, wearing the uniform, a name tag that read Clara in big letters. She saw me. Our eyes met, hers filled with something I couldn't quite name. Shame, maybe, or rage, or both. I ordered a Big Mac and coffee. She took my order in silence. Her hands shook slightly as she counted my change. When she handed me the receipt, I said quietly, "I hope things get better for you, Claire." She looked at me like I'd slapped her. "Do you really?" "Yes, not for you, for me. Because I don't want to be someone who enjoys another person's suffering." I left $2 on the counter as tip. Walked away while she stared at the bills like they were evidence of something she couldn't articulate. Sarah was waiting in the car. "Was that who I think it was?" "Yes. How do you feel?" "Tired, but free." 6 weeks after the confrontation, Daniel's divorce was finalized. Claire contested nothing. Maybe because she knew Daniel had nothing to contest for. Maybe because she was just tired too. The gambling debts were paid. Tom handled it directly with the creditors. $86,400. The trust barely felt it. Daniel sent the first restitution check exactly 60 days after signing the agreement. $500. A note attached. Payment 1 of $120. "Thank you for believing I could do better." I deposited it, didn't spend it. Put it in a separate account. Maybe someday I'd give it all back to him. Maybe not. Time would tell. 3 months after the confrontation, I sold the house. It took 2 weeks to get offers. I accepted one for $378,000. Less than market value, but from a young couple with a baby who reminded me of myself at 25. Sarah helped me pack. We found things I'd forgotten I owned. Daniel's elementary school artwork, Robert's favorite coffee mug, my nursing school textbooks. "What do you want to do with Daniel's stuff?" Sarah held up a box of his childhood things. "Store it. He might want it someday." We moved everything to a storage unit, 10 by 10, $60 a month, a warehouse full of memories I wasn't ready to throw away but couldn't keep in my present. I bought a condo in Columbus, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 10th floor with a view of the city. $215,000. Modern. Clean. No memories. Sarah helped me decorate. We picked paint colors together, hung art from local galleries, bought furniture that was mine alone. The first night in the new place, I couldn't sleep. Too quiet. Too different. I got up at 2 a.m., made tea, sat by the window watching the city lights. My phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. "I know you moved," Sarah told me. "I hope your new place brings you peace. I won't ask where it is. When you're ready to tell me, I'll be here." I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back, "Thank you." It was the first time I'd responded to him in 3 months. 4 months after the confrontation, Sarah and I were having lunch at a cafe near her hospital when her phone rang. "It's Daniel," she said. "Should I answer?" "Your choice," she answered, listened. Her expression shifted from wary to surprised. "Okay, yes, I'll ask her." She hung up. "He wants to meet. Both of us. Says he has something to tell us. Something good. Do you want to?" Sarah was quiet, then, "Yeah, I think I do." We met at a coffee shop halfway between Toledo and Columbus. Neutral ground. Daniel arrived 10 minutes early. I saw him through the window, sitting alone, hands wrapped around a coffee cup. He looked different. Thinner. Older. But steadier somehow. When we walked in, he stood. Didn't approach. Just waited. We sat down. Awkward silence for 30 seconds that felt like 30 minutes. "Thank you for coming," Daniel said finally. "I wasn't sure you would. What did you want to tell us?" Sarah's voice was cautious. "I'm 4 months sober. Gambling sober. I got my 90-day chip at GA last week." He pulled it from his pocket. A gold medallion. "And I wanted you to see it. To know I'm actually doing this. That's good, Daniel. I meant it. There's something else. The therapist had me write letters. Not just to you, Sarah. To everyone I hurt. Including Dad." "Dad's dead," Sarah said. "I know. But Dr. Morrison said it would help. To say the things I never got to say." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "I read it at his grave last week, and I wanted you to know what it said." He didn't hand us the letter, just told us about it. About apologizing to Robert for wasting his sacrifice, for betraying his trust, for thinking about inheritance while he was dying. I told him I don't know if I can ever forgive myself. but I'm trying to become someone who deserves to try. Sarah's eyes were wet. Daniel, I don't know if we'll ever be close again. I don't know if I can trust you. I know. I'm not asking for trust, just acknowledgement that I'm trying. I see you trying, she said. That's all I can give you right now. That's enough. I spoke for the first time. The 5th payment is due next week. It'll be on time. They've all been on time. I know. We sat there for an hour, talking carefully, about therapy, about his job, about Sarah's patience, about my new condo, not about forgiveness. That was still too far away, but about trying, about the possibility of trying. When we left, Daniel hugged Sarah carefully. She let him, briefly. He turned to me. Mom, can I? I stepped forward, hugged him. He smelled like laundry detergent and coffee, like himself, but different. Keep going, I whispered. Just keep going. I will. 8 months after the confrontation, Sarah brought her kids to my condo. Emma was 7, Lucas was 5. They ran through the rooms, fascinated by the elevator, the view, the doorman downstairs. Can we come back, Grandma? Emma asked. Anytime. While the kids watched a movie in the living room, Sarah and I sat on the balcony. June in Columbus. Perfect temperature. Blue sky. You seem happy, Sarah said. I am. Is that weird? After everything? No, it's overdue. My phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. A photo. Him standing in front of an apartment building. A for rent sign visible. Found a place. 1 bedroom, affordable, clean, starting over. I showed Sarah. You going to respond? Should I? Mom, you're asking my permission. Your opinion matters. Sarah sighed. He's doing the work. He's showing up. I still don't fully trust him, but he's trying. That has to count for something. I typed back, good luck with the move. He responded immediately. Thank you. For everything. 1 year after the confrontation, on a Tuesday afternoon, someone knocked on my door. I checked the peephole. Daniel. I opened the door 6 inches. How did you find my address? Sarah gave it to me. Said to ask if you'd like to have coffee. No pressure. I can leave if... Come in. He stepped inside carefully, like he was walking on glass. We sat in my living room. I made coffee. We talked for 20 minutes about nothing important. His apartment, my garden club, the weather. Then he pulled an envelope from his pocket. Payment 60. Halfway there. You didn't have to bring it in person. I wanted to. I wanted to see you. He paused. I wanted to say thank you for not giving up on me when I'd given up on myself. I almost did. I know, you should have. But you didn't. And I think about that every day. We finished our coffee. He left after 30 minutes. As the door closed, I realized something. The tightness in my chest when I thought about him. It was gone. Not replaced with warmth exactly, but not pain either. Just space. Room to breathe. 18 months after the confrontation, my 71st birthday, Sarah brought the kids, and Daniel came too. We celebrated in my condo. Chocolate cake, candles, singing. Daniel gave me a card. Inside, a check for $500 and a note. Payment 72. Still going, still trying. Happy birthday, Mom. I looked at him across the table. He looked back. Something unspoken passed between us. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe never completely. But something. A beginning. An acknowledgement. A choice to keep trying. That night, after everyone left, I stood on my balcony watching the city lights. 71 years old. Alone, but not lonely. Free in a way I'd never been before. My phone buzzed. Message from an unknown number. My heart jumped. Old fear. But it was just a spam text about car insurance. I laughed. Actually laughed. Because the fear was gone too. I thought about Robert, about his letter. If you find a way to save him, I'll be proud. I'm trying, Robert, I whispered to the Columbus night. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm trying. And either way, I'm okay. Finally, I'm okay. The city sparkled below. My condo, my rules, my life. Esther Mae Brennan was free. They took me away in handcuffs at 6:17 in the morning. I know the exact time because I kept staring at the kitchen clock, trying to understand how my life had collapsed in less than 4 minutes. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching. I was still in my pajamas, pink cotton ones with little flowers that my late husband Tom bought me 8 Christmases ago. The elastic on the pants was loose, and I had to shuffle carefully so they wouldn't fall down as Officer Derek Morris guided me toward the patrol car. My neighbors were already outside. Mrs. Chen from next door had her phone out, filming. The Coopers across the street stood on their porch, mouths open. And Kayla, my daughter-in-law, was doing a live stream on Instagram. "This is the hardest thing I've ever had to do," she said into her phone, tears running down her face that I knew were fake because I'd seen her practice that exact expression in my bathroom mirror 3 weeks ago. "But I have to protect my baby. I have to protect Mia." Brett, my son, stood behind her with our 10-month-old granddaughter in his arms. He wouldn't look at me, 35 years old, and he couldn't even look his own mother in the eye. "Ma'am, watch your head," Officer Morris said, not unkindly, as he helped me into the back seat. The handcuffs bit into my wrists. I'd never worn handcuffs before. I'd never even gotten a speeding ticket. 4 minutes earlier, I'd been holding Mia in the nursery, singing her the same lullaby I used to sing to Brett when he was a baby. She'd been fussy all morning, running a slight fever, and Kayla had asked me to watch her while she ran a quick errand. That errand, I realized now, was driving exactly 2 blocks away and calling 911. "My mother-in-law hurt my baby," she'd screamed into the phone, loud enough for me to hear through the baby monitor. "She's been rough with her for weeks, and I just saw her do something to Mia's arm. Please, you have to come now. I'm afraid of what she'll do if I confront her." I'd walked downstairs with Mia still in my arms, confused, and found Kayla in the living room, phone to her ear, pointing at me like I was a stranger who'd broken into her house. "She's right there. She still has my baby." Brett had rushed in from the garage, grabbed Mia from my arms without a word, and stepped away from me like I was diseased. "Mom, what did you do?" he'd asked, but his voice was flat, rehearsed. "I didn't do anything," I'd said. "Brett, honey, I was just singing to her. She has a little fever, that's all. Don't call me honey. Don't ever touch my daughter again." Those words came from the child I'd raised alone after Tom died in that car accident when Brett was 7. The child I'd worked 2 jobs for, librarian by day, office cleaner by night, for 11 years straight, so he could go to St. Margaret's Prep instead of the public school. The child I'd given $18,000 to, my entire retirement savings from the library, so Kayla could open that salon of hers that was definitely going to be huge. She'd promised to pay me back when the business took off. That was 14 months ago. I'd never seen a dollar. Now, sitting in the back of the patrol car, I watched Kayla through the window. She'd positioned herself perfectly in the frame, the house visible behind her, looking every bit the traumatized young mother. Her Instagram notification sounds were going off constantly. Ding, ding, ding. "Phase 1 complete," I heard her whisper to someone. I turned my head slightly. Brenda, my cousin, was standing on the sidewalk about 15 feet away. She'd appeared exactly 4 minutes after the police arrived, which would have been impossible unless she'd been waiting nearby. Brenda, who'd told me at Tom's funeral that I'd gotten all the luck in the family with the house Tom and I had bought together in 1987. Brenda, who'd asked to borrow money 6 times in the last year and gotten angry each time I said no. With her were her 2 teenagers, Ethan and Sophia, 16 and 14. Good kids, I'd thought. I'd babysat them dozens of times when they were little. Ethan was talking to Officer Morris's partner, a younger cop with a notepad. "Yeah, I've seen my Aunt Janice be really rough with the baby," he was saying, like grabbing her arms hard. "My mom told me to pay attention in case something happened." My stomach turned to ice. "Now the house is ours," Kayla whispered to Brenda, just loud enough for me to hear through the half-open window. "She'll never step foot in it again." Brenda smiled, actually smiled. Then she walked over to the patrol car and knocked on the window. Officer Morris told her to step back, but she leaned in close anyway. "You should have just signed the house over when I asked nicely, Jan," she said, her voice sweet as poison. "Would have been so much easier." The car pulled away from the curb. I looked back at my house, the house Tom and I had painted blue together the summer after we got married, the house where Brett took his first steps, the house where I'd lived for 37 years, and I saw Kayla still filming, still crying for the camera. Her view count was at 11,000, in 4 minutes. I realized then that this wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't a panicked mother protecting her child. This was planned. The timing, Brenda's arrival, Ethan's rehearsed statement, even the fact that Kayla had asked me to babysit on a Tuesday morning when she normally worked at the salon, they'd planned this. My own son had helped them plan this. At the station, they put me in a small room with a table and 2 chairs. Officer Morris brought me a cup of water in a paper cup. I noticed his nameplate more clearly now. Detective Derek Morris, not just officer. He had gray at his temples and tired eyes. "Mrs. Fuller," he said, sitting across from me. "I need to ask you some questions about this morning." "I didn't hurt that baby," I said. My voice came out stronger than I expected. "I've never hurt Mia. I would never hurt any child." "Your daughter-in-law says otherwise. She says you've been aggressive with the baby for weeks." "My daughter-in-law is lying." He wrote something down. "Why would she lie about something like this?" "Because she wants my house." He looked up at me then, really looked at me for the first time. "Your house? It's worth about $340,000, maybe more, and she knows I'd never sign it over while I'm alive." The words tumbled out. "She's been pressuring me for months to update my estate plan. That's what she calls it. She wants Brett to inherit everything now, while she can control it." Detective Morris was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "That's a serious accusation. It's the truth, and my cousin Brenda is in on it. She wants a piece of the sale. I heard them talking just now outside before you drove away." He made another note. I could see he was writing more this time. "Detective," I said, leaning forward as much as the handcuffs would allow, "please, check my granddaughter. Really check her. Take her to a hospital with a pediatrician who doesn't know Kayla. Because whatever injuries she's claiming exist, I didn't cause them. The baby's being examined now," he said. "Protocol. Then you'll see I'm telling the truth." He stood up. "Wait here, Mrs. Fuller. I'll be back." I sat alone in that room for what felt like hours, but was probably only 40 minutes. The clock on the wall said 7:53 when Detective Morris came back. He had a manila envelope in his hand and an expression I couldn't read. "Mrs. Fuller," he said slowly, sitting down again. "The pediatric nurse at Dayton Children's Hospital just sent over the examination results for your granddaughter." My heart was hammering. "And? There are no injuries, no bruising, no indication of rough handling, nothing. The baby has a mild fever, probably from teething and some diaper rash. That's it." The relief hit me so hard I thought I might be sick. "Then I can go home?" "Not yet." He opened the envelope and pulled out several printed photographs. The nurse found something else. "Your daughter-in-law posted photos on Instagram this morning, about an hour before she called 911. Photos of the baby with what appeared to be bruises on her arms." He turned the photos toward me. There was Mia in Kayla's arms, with dark marks on her little forearms. "But the nurse says those marks aren't in the hospital examination photos taken 30 minutes ago," Detective Morris continued, "which means either the bruises healed impossibly fast, or they were never real." "Makeup," I whispered. "She used makeup." "That's what the nurse thinks too. She says the marks in your daughter-in-law's photos have uniform edges and color saturation consistent with cosmetics, not actual contusions." He pulled out another paper. "She's filing a formal report with Child Protective Services. False reporting of child abuse is a crime, Mrs. Fuller. So I'm free to go? Soon, but there's something else." He hesitated. "Your son's phone. We have probable cause to examine it based on the false report. And, Mrs. Fuller," he paused, "I think you need to see what we found." Detective Morris left the room with my son's phone in an evidence bag. Through the small window in the door, I could see him talking to another detective, a woman with short gray hair. They kept looking at a computer screen and then at each other with expressions I couldn't quite read. I was alone again. The clock said 8:47 a.m. Less than 3 hours ago, I'd been singing to my granddaughter. Now I was sitting in a police interrogation room, still in Tom's old Christmas pajamas, trying to understand how deep this betrayal went. A female officer brought me a sandwich around 9:30, turkey on white bread, wilted lettuce, a packet of mustard. "Your lawyer's on her way," she said. "Should be here in 20 minutes. I didn't call a lawyer. Someone named Sandra Owens called the station an hour ago. Says she's represented you before?" Sandra. Of course. She'd handled Tom's estate after he died and then helped me with some property tax issues 2 years ago. But I hadn't called her, which meant someone else had. Someone who knew I'd need help. Did she say who contacted her? The officer shrugged. Didn't ask. Just said she was coming. Sandra arrived at 10:15, carrying her leather briefcase and wearing the same no-nonsense expression she'd had when she'd fought the county assessor over my property valuation. She was 52, sharp as a knife, and didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Janice," she said, sitting down across from me after the officer left. "Tell me everything." I did, the whole story, starting with Kayla asking me to babysit, ending with Detective Morris mentioning Brett's phone. Sandra took notes in her precise handwriting, stopping me occasionally to ask for specific details, times, exact words. Who was where when? "And you heard Kayla say phase 1 complete to your cousin?" "Yes, right after they put me in the patrol car." Sandra tapped her pen against her notepad. "That's premeditation. That's conspiracy." She looked up at me. "Janice, this is worse than you think. How could it possibly be worse?" She pulled out her own phone and turned it toward me. On the screen was Kayla's Instagram profile. The video from this morning had 47,000 views. Below it, a caption, "Breaking. I had to make the hardest choice of my life today. My mother-in-law has been hurting my baby for weeks, and this morning I finally saw her do it. I called the police. I'm shaking as I write this. Please pray for baby Mia. Protect our children. Toxic family. Mom life." The comments were endless. Hundreds of them. "You're so brave. I'm crying for you. That monster should be locked up forever. How could a grandmother do that?" "Keep scrolling," Sandra said. I scrolled. There were more posts. Photos of Mia with Kayla, both of them smiling. Captions about finding the strength to protect my daughter from family toxicity and choosing my child over people who raised me. There was even a link. "What's this?" I asked, clicking it. "A GoFundMe," Sandra said flatly. She set it up 6 hours ago. "Help us recover from family trauma and legal fees." She's asking for $15,000. The page loaded. The fundraiser already had $2,340 in donations. From strangers. People who believed Kayla's story without question. I felt something break inside me that I didn't know could break. "She's making money off this. She's monetizing your arrest," Sandra corrected. "And it gets worse. Detective Morris called me 20 minutes ago. Kayla filed a petition this morning for an emergency mental competency evaluation. She's claiming you have dementia with violent episodes and need to be placed under psychiatric observation." The room tilted. "What?" "If a judge grants it, you could be involuntarily committed for up to 72 hours while doctors evaluate you. And during that time, she's requesting temporary guardianship of your assets for your own protection. She wants my house. She wants everything. The house, your accounts, your car, everything." Sandra closed her notepad. "Janice, I need you to understand something. This isn't a family dispute. This is a calculated attempt to take control of your life and your property, and your son is part of it. Brett hasn't called to check on you. He hasn't posted anything defending you. He appeared in Kayla's video at 7:43 this morning, and you know what he said?" She pulled up another video. It was shorter, shakier. Brett's face filled the screen. "My mom's been having some issues lately," he said, his voice cracking in exactly the right places. "Memory problems, confusion. We've been trying to get her help, but she refuses. And now this. I just want Mia to be safe." The video ended. 12,000 views in 2 hours. "He's building the narrative," Sandra said. "He's laying groundwork for the competency claim." I couldn't breathe. "He's my son. He's a grown man who's participating in elder abuse for financial gain." Sandra's voice was gentle but firm. "I know this hurts, but you need to see it clearly, or you won't survive what's coming next." Before I could respond, Detective Morris knocked on the door and entered. He had a tablet in his hand and that same unreadable expression. Mrs. Fuller, Ms. Owens. We've completed our preliminary examination of Brett Fuller's phone. He sat down and placed the tablet on the table between us. I need to show you something. He opened a messaging app, a group chat. The name at the top made my stomach drop. Operation Inheritance. There were 4 members, Kayla, Brett, Brenda, and someone listed as Sophie F. Sophia, Brenda's 14-year-old daughter. This chat was created 7 months ago, Detective Morris said. January 15th, 2024, the day after your granddaughter was born. He scrolled to the first messages. Kayla, Jan 15, 2024, 11:47 p.m. Okay, now that Mia's here, we need to talk seriously about the house situation. Jan's not going to live forever, but we can't wait that long. Brett and I need that money now. Brett, Jan 15, 2024, 11:52 p.m. I know, but how? She's not going to just give me the house. Kayla, Jan 15, 2024, 11:58 p.m. We make her, or we make her incompetent. Either way, the house becomes ours to manage. I couldn't look away from the screen. Detective Morris scrolled further. Months of messages, plans forming, being refined, being adjusted. Brenda joined the chat in March. Brenda, Mar 23, 2024, 3:15 p.m. I'm in, but I want 10% of the sale, and I'll bring Ethan and Sophia if you need witnesses for anything. Kayla, Mar 23, 2024, 3:22 p.m. Deal. Get them ready to say whatever we need. More scrolling. August. Kayla, Aug 23, 2024, 9:41 p.m. Brett, you just need to stay quiet and let me handle this. Your mom's old. Nobody's going to believe her over us. Think about our daughter. Brett, Aug 23, 2024, 9:55 p.m. I know, but I feel bad. Kayla, Aug 23, 2024, 10:03 p.m. You want Mia growing up poor? Your mother had her life. Now it's our turn. September 10th, 2 weeks ago. Kayla, Sept 2024, 2:17 p.m. Final plan. I'll get her to babysit on a Tuesday morning when I can control the timing. I'll stage the injury photos with makeup. I've been practicing. Brett, you grab the baby and act shocked. Brenda, you show up exactly 4 minutes after the cops with the kids ready to give statements. We all stick to the script. Brenda, Sept 2024, 2:20 p.m. Ethan and Sophie know what to say. Practiced it with them last night. Brett, Sept 2024, 2:34 p.m. And then what? Kayla, Sept 2024, 2:41 p.m. Then she gets arrested, I file for the competency hearing, and we have the house on the market in 6 weeks. By Christmas, we're in a new place with money in the bank. Sandra was reading over my shoulder. My God. Detective Morris scrolled to this morning's messages, sent after I was already in the patrol car. Kayla, Sept 24, 2024, 7:29 a.m. She's in the car. Phase 1 complete. Morris bought the whole thing. Brenda, Sept 24, 2024, 7:31 a.m. Ethan gave his statement perfectly. You should have seen Jan's face when she heard it. Kayla, Sept 24, 2024, 7:35 a.m. Instagram is blowing up. 11K views already. This is going to be huge for my following. I pushed away from the table and stood up. My legs were shaking. I need to see the rest, I said. There's more, Detective Morris said quietly. Including evidence that your daughter-in-law has been underreporting income from her salon. The IRS might be interested in that. Sandra was already writing. I want copies of everything, every message, every photo, every piece of evidence. You'll have it, the detective said. He looked at me. Mrs. Fuller, I'm releasing you. No charges, and I'm recommending that the prosecutor's office open an investigation into fraud, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, and filing a false police report. What about Brett? The words came out before I could stop them. He's technically part of the conspiracy, but his participation appears more passive. The DA will decide whether to charge him. Passive. My son had passively agreed to destroy me. Sandra touched my arm. Janice, we need to move fast. That competency hearing request needs to be blocked, and we need to file criminal complaints against all of them. Today. I looked at her. All of them? Yes. Kayla, Brenda, and juvenile charges for Ethan and Sophia. They all participated knowingly. And Brett? Sandra's expression hardened. That's your decision. But legally, I'd advise— I'll do it, I said. File against all of them. They kept me at the station for 38 more hours. Not because I was under arrest, Detective Morris had made that clear, but because Sandra insisted I needed protective custody while she filed the emergency injunctions. If they know you're coming home, she'd said, they'll escalate. Brenda has keys to your house. God knows what they'll do. So I stayed in a holding cell that smelled like industrial cleaner and desperation, a cot with a thin mattress, a metal toilet, a sink that dripped every 7 seconds. I counted. The fluorescent lights never turned off completely, just dimmed to a sickly yellow at what I assumed was night. I didn't sleep the first night. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to someone in another cell crying softly. The crying stopped around 4 a.m. The dripping continued. The second day, Sandra came back with papers for me to sign. Restraining orders against Kayla and Brenda, criminal complaints, a motion to freeze my bank accounts so no one could touch them while the case proceeded, affidavits, forms, so many forms. Your cousin tried to access your house last night, Sandra said, sliding a document across the small table in the visitor's room. Your neighbor Mrs. Chen called the police. Brenda told the officers she was checking on the property because you were mentally unwell and possibly dangerous. Did they arrest her? No, but it's documented. Another piece of evidence. Sandra pulled out her phone and showed me a new Instagram post from Kayla. The photo was of Brett holding Mia, both of them looking sad. The caption read, "Praying for healing and hoping my MIL gets the mental health help she desperately needs. Family is everything. Mental health matters. Chuck, family first. Pray for us." The post had 89,000 views. The GoFundMe was up to $4,020. She's still posting, I said numbly. Every 6 hours. She's built a narrative, and her followers are eating it up. Sandra put the phone away. But here's what matters. Detective Morris got a warrant for her salon's financial records. She's been underreporting income for 2 years. We're talking about $34,000 in undeclared cash transactions. The IRS is opening an investigation. I should have felt something. Satisfaction, maybe. Justice. But I just felt hollow. Janice, Sandra said carefully. Your son called my office this morning. My heart lurched despite itself. What did he say? He wanted to know if you were okay. He sounded, I don't know. Conflicted. Conflicted, I repeated. He helped plan this for 7 months, and now he's conflicted. Sandra was quiet for a moment. He asked if he could visit you. I told him no. But I need to know. If he tries to contact you directly, do you want to talk to him? I thought about Brett at 7 years old, crying in my arms the night we buried Tom. I thought about Brett at 16, winning the county spelling bee and scanning the audience until he found my face. I thought about Brett at 23, the day he graduated college, telling me I was the strongest person he knew. Then I thought about Brett yesterday morning, pulling Mia away from me like I was a stranger, refusing to look at me, standing silent in Kayla's video while she destroyed my reputation to 89,000 people. No, I said. I don't want to talk to him. That night, my second night in the cell, the memories came like a flood I couldn't stop. Brett at 6 months old, born 7 weeks premature because I'd slipped on ice in the library parking lot. He'd weighed 3 pounds, 4 ounces. The NICU nurses said it was touch and go. I'd slept in a chair next to his incubator for 14 nights straight until Tom forced me to go home and shower. Brett at 9, coming home from school with a black eye because he'd punched Tyler Morrison for saying his dad was dead because God was punishing our family. Tom had only been gone 2 years. I'd held Brett while he sobbed and told him his father was a hero, that the drunk driver who killed him was the only one who deserved punishment. Brett at 13, when the electricity got shut off because I'd been 3 months behind on the bill. I'd been working the day shift at the library and the night shift cleaning offices downtown, but it still wasn't enough. Brett had used flashlights to do his homework and never complained once. That was when I'd decided he'd go to St. Margaret's Prep, no matter what it cost. Private school meant opportunities. It meant college. It meant Brett wouldn't end up like me, scraping by, drowning in bills, buried alive by a system that didn't care. So I'd taken the second job, then a weekend job cleaning houses. For 11 years. 11 years of 4 hours of sleep a night. 11 years of eating ramen so Brett could have fresh vegetables. 11 years of wearing the same 3 outfits to work while Brett had new school uniforms every year. He'd gotten into Ohio State on a partial scholarship. I'd covered the rest, $47,000 over 4 years, taken from a home equity loan that I was still paying off. Would be paying off for another 8 years, if I lived that long. When he'd graduated, he'd hugged me and said, "Mom, I'm going to take care of you now. I promise. You'll never have to work so hard again." 2 years later, he'd married Kayla. Beautiful, ambitious Kayla, with her social media dreams and her expensive taste. I'd liked her at first. She'd seemed sweet, energetic. She'd called me Mom right away, which had made me feel warm inside. The warmth hadn't lasted long. 6 months into the marriage, Kayla had started talking about investment opportunities. The salon was her dream, she'd said. She just needed capital to get started. Brett had looked at me with those same eyes he'd had at 13, in the dark house with the flashlights, and asked if I could help. I'd given them $18,000, every penny I'd saved since paying off Brett's last semester of college, my entire retirement cushion from the library. "We'll pay you back within a year," Kayla had promised, with interest. "This is going to be huge, Mom." That was 14 months ago. I'd never seen a dollar. And 3 months ago, when I gently asked about a payment plan, Kayla had laughed and said, "Oh, Mom, that wasn't a loan. That was a gift. Family helps family." Now she was making $4,120 from strangers on the internet by calling me an abuser. I lay on that cot in the dim light and felt something crack open inside me. Not my heart, that had broken yesterday. This was deeper. This was the part of me that had believed in goodness, in fairness, in the idea that if you sacrificed enough, loved enough, gave enough, it would matter. It didn't matter. I'd given Brett everything, and he'd given me back to Kayla like a chess piece she could sacrifice. Around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. The door opened. Detective Morris stood there with another officer and a woman in a rumpled blazer. "Mrs. Fuller," the woman said, "I'm Rebecca Lynn from the prosecutor's office. I need to ask you some questions about your relationship with your son and daughter-in-law." We talked for an hour. She recorded everything. I told her about the $18,000, about Kayla's escalating request for me to update my estate plan, about how Brett had stopped visiting unless Kayla came with him, and how Kayla always steered every conversation back to my house. "When I die, Brett inherits everything," I explained. "The house, my savings, my pension, it's all in my will. But Kayla wants it now. She's been pressuring me to sign the house over to Brett as a gift for months. She says it would simplify things and save on taxes later." Rebecca wrote quickly, "And you refused?" "Every time. It's my house. Tom and I bought it together. I'm not giving it away while I'm still living in it." "So she found another way," Rebecca said quietly. "She found another way," I agreed. When Rebecca left, Detective Morris lingered in the doorway. "Mrs. Fuller, I'm sorry this happened to you." "Are you?" The words came out harsher than I meant them. "You believed her this morning. You put me in handcuffs based on her word alone." "I did," he admitted, "and I was wrong. For what it's worth, I'm going to make sure this is prosecuted to the fullest extent." "Will Brett be charged?" He hesitated. "That's up to the DA. His involvement was significant, but not as active as the others. He might get a plea deal." "A plea deal," I repeated. "He helped plan this for 7 months. He stood there and watched her lie. He took my granddaughter from me like I was a criminal, and he might get a plea deal." "I'm sorry," Detective Morris said again. After he left, I lay back down on the cot. The ceiling had a water stain shaped like a boot. I stared at it until my eyes burned. My phone, which they'd finally returned to me, buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. "Mom, please, can we talk? I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would go this far. Please, Brett." Using someone else's phone because I'd blocked his number months ago after the 10th estate planning conversation. My finger hovered over the keyboard. 10,000 things I wanted to say. 10,000 questions. 10,000 years of hurt compressed into a single moment. I deleted the message and turned off the phone. Sandra came to get me on the third morning. She had a navy suit on and her trial face, the one that meant she was ready for war. "We're going to court in 2 hours," she said. "The restraining order hearing. And I need you to be ready for what you're going to see." "What am I going to see?" "Your family. All of them." She drove me home first so I could shower and change. Mrs. Chen was watering her roses when we pulled up. She dropped the hose and rushed over. "Janice, oh my God, are you okay? I saw what happened." "I called the police when your cousin tried to break in." She lowered her voice. "I never believed that girl. Never. She's always been too sweet, you know? The fake kind of sweet." "Thank you for calling," I said. "It means more than you know." Inside, everything looked normal, almost peaceful. The morning light came through the kitchen window the same way it had for 37 years. My coffee mug was still in the sink from 2 mornings ago, when I'd washed it before Kayla called asking me to babysit. 2 mornings. It felt like 2 years. I showered, put on the gray pantsuit I'd worn to Tom's retirement party at the fire station, and met Sandra back in the living room. She had her laptop open on my coffee table. "Before we go, there's something else you need to see," she said. "Detective Morris sent this over an hour ago. More messages from Brett's phone. These are from a separate chat. Just Brett and Kayla, no one else." She turned the laptop toward me. The messages were from last night. "Kayla, Sept 25, 2024, 10:47 p.m. Your mom's lawyer blocked the competency hearing. We need Plan B. Brett, Sept 25, 2024, 10:52 p.m. What's Plan B? Kayla, Sept 25, 2024, 10:58 p.m. We convince everyone she's dangerous. I'll post about being afraid to let you visit her, about Mia having nightmares, about needing therapy. We build the case in public. Brett, Sept 25, 2024, 11:03 p.m. Kayla, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Kayla, Sept 25, 2024, 11:07 p.m. Then what? We lose the house? We keep struggling while your mom sits in that big house all alone? She's old, Brett. She doesn't need all that space. We do. Mia does. Brett, Sept 25, 2024, 11:15 p.m. I know, but she looked so small in that police car. I can't stop seeing her face. Kayla, Sept 25, 2024, 11:18 p.m. Then don't look. Look at our daughter instead. Look at our future. Your mom had her turn. This is ours. I read the messages twice, 3 times. Brett was wavering, guilty, but not guilty enough to stop. There's more, Sandra said. She scrolled down. These are from this morning, 6:47 a.m. Brett, Sept 26, 2024, 6:47 a.m. Kayla, the police called. They want me to come in for questioning today. Kayla, Sept 26, 2024, 6:49 a.m. Don't go. Tell them you need a lawyer first. Brett, Sept 26, 2024, 6:52 a.m. They said I'm not under arrest, just questioning. Kayla, Sept 26, 2024, 6:54 a.m. Brett, listen to me. If you talk to them, you'll mess everything up. Stick to the script. Your mom was acting erratic. You were concerned. You didn't know I was going to call the police. That's all you say. Brett, Sept 26, 2024, 7:01 a.m. What if they have evidence? What if they know about the group chat? Kayla, Sept 26, 2024, 7:03 a.m. They don't. And even if they do, you were just worried about your mom's mental health. You weren't part of any conspiracy. You're the victim here too. Manipulated by your controlling mother and your stressed wife. Play that angle. Sandra closed the laptop. She's coaching him on how to lie to the police. Will it work? No. Because we have all of this. She gestured to the laptop. Every message, every plan, every lie. Brett might have been conflicted, but he was complicit. And Kayla just made it worse by instructing him to obstruct. We drove to the courthouse in silence. I watched Dayton roll past the window, the library where I'd worked for 23 years, the elementary school where Brett had learned to read, the church where we'd buried Tom. All of it felt distant now, like I was watching someone else's life. The courtroom was small, wood-paneled walls, an American flag in the corner. Judge Patricia Kowalski presiding. I recognized her name from the papers Sandra had shown me. She had gray hair pulled back tight, and the kind of face that had seen everything twice. Kayla was already there with her lawyer, a thin man in an expensive suit. She'd dressed carefully, modest blue dress, minimal makeup, hair in a simple bun, the perfect image of a concerned young mother. When she saw me, she looked away quickly and dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Brenda sat 3 rows back with Ethan and Sophia. The teenagers looked uncomfortable, kept glancing at each other. Brenda stared straight ahead, her jaw tight. Brett wasn't there. The hearing took 40 minutes. Sandra presented the evidence methodically, the Instagram posts with their timestamps, the fake injury photos compared to the real hospital examination, the messages from Operation Inheritance, the financial records showing Kayla's unreported income. Kayla's lawyer tried to argue that the messages were taken out of context and that his client was simply a concerned mother acting on instinct. Judge Kowalski cut him off. "Counselor, your client faked injuries on an infant, filed a false police report, and is currently profiting from a fraudulent fundraising campaign. There is no context that makes that acceptable." She granted all 3 restraining orders. Kayla, Brenda, and the 2 teenagers were prohibited from coming within 500 feet of me or my property. The GoFundMe was ordered frozen pending investigation, and Judge Kowalski referred the case to the prosecutor for criminal charges. "Furthermore," the judge said, looking directly at Kayla, "I'm ordering Child Protective Services to conduct a welfare check on the minor child, Mia Fuller. Using your own infant to stage a false abuse claim raises serious questions about your fitness as a parent." Kayla's face went white. "Your Honor, please, we're done here." Judge Kowalski's gavel came down hard. In the hallway outside, Brenda tried to approach me. Sandra stepped between us immediately. "Don't," Sandra said. "You're violating the restraining order." "Jan, please," Brenda said, her voice shaking. "This got out of hand. I didn't think it would go this far." "You brought your children into it," I said. My voice came out flat, cold. "You taught them to lie under oath for 10% of my house. I needed the money. We all need money. I needed money when Tom died and I had a 7-year-old to raise alone. I didn't betray family for it." Brenda's face crumpled. Sophia started crying. Ethan pulled his sister away. Sandra guided me toward the exit. "That was good," she said quietly. "Stay strong. We're not done yet." "What's next? Criminal charges?" "The DA is filing this afternoon. Kayla and Brenda will be arraigned within 48 hours. She paused. "Brett, too. They're charging Brett? Conspiracy to commit elder abuse, fraud, and filing a false report. He signed the police statement backing up Kayla's story." Sandra looked at me carefully. "The DA offered him a deal. If he testifies against Kayla and Brenda, he gets probation and community service. No jail time. And if he doesn't take it? Then he goes to trial with them, and he could get 2 to 5 years." We reached Sandra's car. I stood there in the courthouse parking lot, watching families come and go. A young couple with a baby in a carrier, an elderly man helping his wife up the steps. Normal people with normal problems. "Janice," Sandra said, "the DA needs to know. Do you want Brett to take the deal?" I thought about Brett at 7, crying for his father. Brett at 13 in the dark. Brett at 23 promising to take care of me. I thought about Brett 2 mornings ago, pulling Mia away from me like I was poison. "No," I said. "No deal. He made his choice. He can live with the consequences." Sandra nodded slowly. "You're sure?" I've never been more sure of anything in my life. That night, alone in my house for the first time in 3 days, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea and made a list. Not a revenge list. I'd never been that kind of person. Just a practical accounting of what needed to happen next. Change the locks. Done. Sandra had arranged it while we were at court. Update my will. Remove Brett as beneficiary. Leave everything to charity. Document everything. Every message. Every post. Every lie. For the trial. Protect myself. Cameras on the property. New security system. At the bottom of the list, I wrote one more thing. Let them go. Not forgiveness. I would never forgive this. But I couldn't carry them anymore. The weight of Brett's betrayal. Kayla's greed. Brenda's envy. It would crush me if I let it. So I wouldn't let it. My phone buzzed. Another text from Brett's borrowed number. Mom, please. I'll testify against them. I'll do whatever it takes. Just please talk to me. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I blocked the number and finished my tea. The arraignment was set for October 3rd, 12 days after they'd taken me away in handcuffs. 12 days that felt like 12 lifetimes. Sandra had prepared me for what to expect. They'll all plead not guilty, she'd said. Standard procedure. Then we go to trial in about 4 months, maybe sooner if the judge fast-tracks it. But I wasn't prepared for what happened the night before the arraignment. Brett showed up at my house at 8:47 p.m. I know the time because I'd just finished watching the evening news, a story about a grandmother in Cincinnati who'd won custody of her grandchildren after her son went to prison for theft. The irony wasn't lost on me. The doorbell rang. My new security camera showed Brett standing on the porch, alone. He looked terrible, unshaven, his shirt wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes that made him look 10 years older. I almost didn't answer. My finger hovered over the intercom button for 30 seconds. Then I opened the door, not because I wanted to hear what he had to say, because I wanted him to see my face when I said no. Mom? He said immediately. Thank God. Please, I need to talk to you. You're violating the restraining order. That's only for Kayla and Brenda. I checked. Please, 5 minutes. I should have closed the door. Everything in me screamed to close the door. But I stepped aside and let him in. He stood in the living room like a stranger, looking around at the space he'd grown up in. His eyes lingered on the mantel, the photo of him and Tom from his 8th birthday, both of them covered in cake frosting. The spelling bee trophy, his high school graduation picture. I've been trying to call you, he said finally. I know. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would go this far. I swear I didn't know. You knew enough. I sat down in Tom's old armchair. I didn't offer Brett a seat. You knew for 7 months. You had 210 days to stop it, to tell me, to warn me. You didn't. Kayla said it would be simple, just a competency evaluation, just enough to get you to agree to estate planning. She said you wouldn't even know about the police report until after, and by then I'd be in custody and she'd have control of my assets. I kept my voice level. I read the messages, Brett. All of them. His face crumpled. I was weak. I let her manipulate me. I was so afraid of losing her, of losing Mia, so you chose to lose me instead. No, Mom, no. I never wanted to lose you. I thought. He ran his hands through his hair. We're drowning. The salon's been losing money for months. We're 3 months behind on rent. Kayla's car got repossessed last week. We have $287 in our checking account. And then she started talking about the house, about how you didn't need all this space, about how we could sell it and everyone would be better off. Everyone meaning her. Everyone meaning all of us. A fresh start. You could get a nice apartment, something easier to maintain. We could pay off our debts, give Mia a stable home, using my house, that I worked 37 years to keep. I leaned forward. Brett, do you know what I was making when your father died? $24,000 a year. Do you know what this house cost us? $89,000 in 1987. We stretched ourselves so thin to buy it. And then Tom was gone. And it was just me and you and a mortgage I could barely afford. I know, Mom. I know you sacrificed. I worked 2 jobs for 11 years, sometimes 3. I wore the same winter coat for 8 years because I couldn't afford a new one. I ate rice and beans 6 days a week so you could have meat. I gave up everything, vacations, retirement savings, my health, so you could have opportunities I never had. And I'm grateful. No, I stood up. You're not. Grateful people don't conspire to have their mothers arrested. Grateful people don't let their wives fake injuries on their own child to frame their grandmother. Grateful people don't send their mothers to jail in pajamas while live-streaming it for profit. Brett's face went red. I didn't know she was going to live-stream it, but you knew everything else. You knew about the fake injuries. You knew about the police report. You knew about the competency petition. You stood there and watched them put me in handcuffs, and you did nothing. I was scared. I was terrified. My voice cracked. I was sitting in a cell for 38 hours thinking my own son hated me, thinking I'd done something so terrible that you wanted me locked away. Do you have any idea what that feels like? Brett's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. God, Mom, I'm so sorry. I'll make it right. I'll testify against them. I'll tell the prosecutor everything. I'll get Mia away from Kayla. You'll save yourself. I walked to the door and opened it. That's what this is about. The DA offered you a deal, and you want my blessing to take it. No, yes. He wiped his eyes. I want to make things right with you. And if testifying helps, then it doesn't help me, Brett. It helps you. You get probation instead of prison. You get to keep your daughter. You get to walk away from this with barely a scratch while Kayla and Brenda go to jail. They deserve to go to jail. They manipulated me. You're 35 years old. You have a college degree I paid for. You have a brain that works just fine. Nobody held a gun to your head and made you join that group chat. Nobody forced you to stand silent while your wife destroyed my reputation to 89,000 strangers. You chose this, Brett. Every step of the way, you chose this. He stared at me. So what do you want me to do? Go to prison? Lose Mia? Lose everything? I want you to own what you did. Not blame Kayla, not blame your debts, not blame anything except your own choices. I held the door wider. But mostly, I want you to leave. Mom, please, do you know what I realized in that cell? I said quietly. I realized I'd spent 35 years protecting you from consequences. Every time you made a mistake, I fixed it. Every time you struggled, I carried the weight. I taught you that someone would always save you. That you never had to be uncomfortable because Mom would make it better. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. I learned that when your father died, and I had to figure out how to raise you alone on $24,000 a year. You're learning it now. Better late than never. Brett just stood there, tears running down his face. I love you, Mom. I loved you too, I said, past tense, deliberate. But love without respect is nothing. And you lost my respect the moment you let them put me in that police car. Can I see you again? After the trial? No, Mom. I'm 62 years old, Brett. I don't know how many years I have left. However many it is, I'm not spending them waiting for you to become the person I thought you were. That person doesn't exist. Maybe he never did. I stepped back and started to close the door. Brett put his hand on it. What about Mia? He asked, his voice breaking. She's your granddaughter. Don't you want to be in her life? That one hurt. That one hit me right in the chest. Because yes, I wanted to know Mia. I wanted to watch her grow up. I wanted to be the grandmother I'd dreamed of being. But I looked at Brett's face, the desperation, the manipulation, the last-ditch effort to use my own granddaughter as leverage, and I knew the answer. Mia deserves better than parents who taught her that family is a transaction, I said. If you really love her, you'll teach her better than you were taught. But that's not my job anymore. That's yours. I closed the door. He stood on the porch for 3 minutes. I watched on the camera. He knocked twice more, called my name, finally left. I didn't cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. I just sat back down in Tom's chair and felt lighter. Like I'd been carrying something heavy for so long, I'd forgotten what it felt like to put it down. My phone rang. Sandra. Janice, Brett's lawyer just called me. He's taking the DA's deal. He's testifying against Kayla and Brenda in exchange for probation. I know, I said. He just left my house. He came to see you? Sandra's voice sharpened. What did he say? That he's sorry, that he wants to make things right. I looked at the photo on the mantel. 8-year-old Brett covered in cake frosting, happy and innocent. I told him no. Sandra was quiet for a moment. How do you feel? Free, I said. And I meant it. The next morning, at the arraignment, I watched all 3 of them stand before Judge Kowalski. Kayla in a pale pink dress that made her look young and innocent. Brenda in black, trying to look remorseful. Brett in a suit I'd bought him for his college graduation, looking broken. They all pleaded not guilty. Kayla's lawyer made a statement about misunderstandings and mental health concerns for all parties involved. The judge set trial for January 15th. As we left the courtroom, Kayla tried to make eye contact with me. I looked right through her. She didn't exist to me anymore. None of them did. Outside, A reporter from the Dayton Daily News approached me. "Mrs. Fuller, do you have a statement about the charges against your family?" Sandra started to intervene, but I stopped her. "Yes," I said, looking directly into the camera. "I have a statement. For 35 years, I put my family first. I sacrificed everything to give my son opportunities, and when he needed money, I gave him my life savings. I did all of this because I believed family meant loyalty, love, trust. I was wrong. Sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones you loved best, and sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away." The reporter's eyes widened. "Are you saying you're cutting ties with your son?" "I'm saying I'm choosing myself." Finally, the trial lasted 6 days. It was February, 4 months after they'd taken me away in handcuffs. 4 months of preparation, depositions, and sleepless nights. Sandra had warned me it would be brutal. She was right. Kayla's lawyer tried to paint her as a devoted mother protecting her child from a mentally unstable grandmother. He showed the Instagram posts, the tearful videos, the messages from concerned followers. He called witnesses who testified that Kayla seemed genuinely afraid. Then Sandra presented the Operation Inheritance messages. All of them, projected on a screen for the jury to read. 7 months of planning. 7 months of calculated cruelty. The courtroom went silent. Brett testified on the second day. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. Thin, hollow-eyed. He admitted everything. The group chat, the fake injuries, the coordinated timing. He cried when he described watching me get arrested. "I'll regret it for the rest of my life," he said. I sat in the gallery and felt nothing, not anger, not sadness, just a vast, echoing emptiness where my son used to be. Brenda's testimony was worse. She tried to claim she'd been supporting family and didn't understand the full plan. But Sandra had phone records showing 43 calls between Brenda and Kayla in the month before my arrest, text messages about timing and getting the kids ready, a voicemail where Brenda coached Sophia on exactly what to say to the police. Ethan and Sophia testified too, separately. Both of them cried. Both of them admitted their mother had promised them money. "She said Aunt Janice was old and wouldn't need the house much longer anyway," Ethan said quietly. He was 16, old enough to know better, young enough to be shaped by the adults around him. The jury deliberated for 7 hours. Guilty. All 3 counts for Kayla. Conspiracy to commit elder abuse, filing a false police report, and fraud. Guilty for Brenda on the same charges plus child endangerment for involving minors. Ethan and Sophia were processed through juvenile court separately. Sentencing came 3 weeks later. Judge Kowalski looked at Kayla for a long moment before speaking. "Ms. Reeves Fuller, you used your own infant daughter as a prop in a scheme to defraud and imprison an innocent woman. You monetized your lies to thousands of strangers. You showed no remorse until you were caught. The court sentences you to 18 months in the Ohio Reformatory for Women, followed by 3 years of probation." Kayla's face went white. She started to speak, but her lawyer put a hand on her arm. "Additionally," the judge continued, "Child Protective Services has recommended that you complete a parenting course and undergo psychological evaluation before resuming custody of your daughter. The court concurs. Brenda got 2 years. The courtroom was nearly empty. Most of the Fuller family had stopped coming after the first day, but I was there. I wanted to see it. Brett wasn't charged criminally beyond his plea agreement, but he lost everything anyway. Kayla filed for divorce from jail, claiming Brett had known about everything and was the mastermind. It was a lie, but it destroyed him in the custody hearing. The judge awarded primary custody of Mia to the state temporarily, with supervised visitation for Brett pending psychological evaluation. His employer, a car dealership in Kettering, fired him after the local news ran the story. His apartment lease wasn't renewed. Last I heard through Sandra, he was living in a subsidized 1-bedroom on the east side, working at a grocery store stocking shelves at night. The civil judgments came next. I sued Kayla for the $18,000 she'd taken from me, plus damages. The court awarded me $125,000 total for emotional distress, defamation, and punitive damages. Kayla's salon had already gone bankrupt. The IRS seized what little she had left for the $34,000 in unpaid taxes, plus penalties. She'll be paying me in installments for the rest of her life, assuming she ever makes more than minimum wage again. I sued Brenda, too. Got a judgment for $50,000. She lost her job. Target doesn't keep managers who get convicted of conspiracy. Her house went into foreclosure. Her ex-husband in Indiana took full custody of Ethan and Sophia. The teenagers were sentenced to 240 hours of community service each and 18 months of probation. Part of their sentence included recording a public apology video that was submitted to the court. I never watched it. Sandra said they both seemed genuinely remorseful. I didn't care. Brett tried to contact me 11 times in the months after the trial. Letters, voicemails, messages through Sandra. I never responded. I changed my phone number, changed my email. He sent a card on my birthday, March 14th, with a long handwritten note about how he was in therapy, how he was learning about himself, how he hoped someday I could forgive him. I threw it away without reading past the first line. In April, I did something I'd been planning since the trial ended. I sold the house. The realtor said I could get $340,000, maybe more. I accepted the first offer, $342,000 from a young couple with a newborn. They reminded me of Tom and me, 37 years ago. Hopeful, in love, believing the house would protect them from the world. I hoped it would. I hoped they'd have better luck than I did. I bought a 2-bedroom apartment in a 55-plus community in Beaver Creek. Smaller, easier to maintain, safe. The building has a doorman and security cameras. No one gets in without clearance. With the money left over, about $190,000 after paying off the last of my mortgage and covering moving costs, I did 3 things. First, I established an irrevocable trust for myself. Sandra set it up so that no one, not even Brett, could touch it. It generates enough income that I'll never have to worry about money again. Second, I took a cruise, 12 days in the Caribbean. Tom and I had always talked about it, but we could never afford it. I went alone, sat on the deck watching the ocean and felt the weight of 35 years finally lift off my shoulders. Third, I donated $50,000 to the Montgomery County Elder Abuse Prevention Program in Tom's name. They sent me a thank you letter and asked if I'd be willing to speak at their annual fundraiser. I said yes. The fundraiser was in September, almost exactly a year after my arrest. There were 140 people there. Lawyers, social workers, families who'd been through similar situations. I told my story from beginning to end. The $18,000, the group chat, the handcuffs, the betrayal. When I finished, the room was silent for 5 full seconds. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone was standing, and I realized I was crying. And for the first time in a year, they were good tears. A woman approached me afterward. 73 years old. Her daughter had tried to have her declared incompetent to get her house. I thought I was alone, she told me. Thank you for making me feel less alone. That's when I knew I'd done the right thing. Not just pressing charges, not just walking away from Brett, but speaking up, making noise, refusing to disappear quietly. The local paper ran a story about my speech. They didn't use Brett's name. I'd asked them not to. But anyone who'd followed the trial knew who I was talking about. I didn't do it to hurt him. I did it to help the next grandmother who might be sitting in a cell wondering how her family could do this to her. Brett saw the article. I know because he sent one final letter in October. Mom, I saw what you're doing. I'm proud of you. I know I have no right to say that, but I am. You're helping people. You're making a difference. I'm in therapy twice a week now. I have supervised visitation with Mia every Saturday. She's walking now, saying words. I wish you could see her. I wish things were different. I understand why you can't forgive me. I don't forgive me either. But I want you to know I'm trying to be better. For Mia, for myself, maybe someday for you too, if you ever change your mind. Love, Brett. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in a box with the others and stored it in the back of my closet. Not because I planned to respond. Because someday, maybe 20 years from now, someone might need to understand what happened, why I made the choices I made, but I didn't write back. It's November now. Just over a year since that morning in my pajamas. I'm 63 years old, I live alone in a bright apartment with a balcony overlooking a small garden. I have new friends, Dorothy from 3B who plays bridge, Margaret from 4A who survived her own family nightmare and understands without me having to explain. Yesterday, Dorothy asked if I had children. I paused for just a second. Then I said, I had a son once, but I learned that some relationships are poison disguised as love. Now I have peace instead, and that's worth more. She nodded like she understood completely. Maybe she did. This morning, I'm sitting on my balcony with coffee and the newspaper. There's a story about a grandmother in Columbus who just won a lawsuit against her son for elder financial abuse. I clip it and add it to my collection. 23 stories now. I keep them as reminders that I'm not alone, that what happened to me happens to thousands of women every year, but it doesn't define me anymore. I am Janice May Fuller. I am 63 years old. I survived 37 years in a house I loved and a betrayal I never saw coming. I survived handcuffs and headlines and a family that wanted me erased. And now I'm free. Not because I forgave them, not because time healed everything, but because I chose myself, finally, completely, without apology. The sun is coming up over Beaver Creek. Dorothy just texted asking if I want to go to the farmer's market. I text back yes. I finish my coffee. I close the newspaper. I stand up and stretch and feel, for the first time in longer than I can remember, like the world is full of possibility instead of pain. Brett is out there somewhere, stocking shelves, visiting his daughter on Saturdays, trying to rebuild a life from the ashes of his choices. Kayla is in prison, counting down days until release. Brenda is in her own apartment somewhere, alone and broke and bitter, and I am here, in my home that no one can take from me, with my peace that no one can touch. That's not a happy ending. It's better. It's a free one.